Mercedes-Benz of Valencia and KHTS, we are taking a positive spin with a new feature, a kind of new feature. We've done this for a little bit of a while now, but for those individuals who make a difference to our quality of life here in the Santa Clarita Valley, Santa Clarita's Unsung Heroes, brought to you by our friends at Mercedes-Benz of Valencia. We're going to focus on those working behind the scenes who aren't afraid to get their hands dirty and make the impossible a reality. This edition of the Santa Clarita Unsung Hero is Mr. Arif Halaby.
Hey, well, thank you. I was quite
Yeah.
surprised. I thought you made a mistake when you actually...
I actually did make a mistake. I emailed the wrong person, so this is really uncomfortable.
Yeah, this is weird, huh?
Yeah. No, of course not. Of course not. I just ran down what a unsung hero is. What does that mean to you, that title?
Well, it's usually folks that we try to honor with both my personal life and my family's life, but in addition to all that, some of the stuff that our company does, and that is honoring the people behind the scenes. Often in years past, there'll be one individual recognized, but it's usually their spouse that's behind them that make things possible. Or there'll be one person that's kind of honored, and yet there'll be a whole team of staff or assistants or however the organization might be set up. And they're the ones that often get the work done, and there's usually one or two people that might receive the credit.
So I want to talk to you a little bit. Well, we're going to go past, present, and future for Arif Halaby. Those know present Arif Halaby. Most people do. But growing up, where did you grow up, and what did you want to do when you were a kid? Did you want to be president, or what was your childhood like, and then maybe your high school life like?
Yeah, actually, I don't think anybody's ever heard this part, so this is going to be a little... Well, it'll be a moment, certainly, between us. Yeah. It may last a little longer. But I grew up in Sylmar, just over the hill. For Panorama City for just a few years, and then Sylmar when I was in the second grade, and lived there. That's what we did. Sylmar High School, graduated from, and then off to Pierce College. And in that whole period of time, it was brought to my attention more recently, I'd say in the last 5-6 years, when somebody said, "Did you just hear what you just said?" And I'm going, "What?" Because I would tell them, this is what I used to do. I was a lifeguard, and then I became a security guard, and then I became a policeman. And they said, "Do you notice what you did?" I said, "What?" They said, "You were always involved in protecting other people." And that I never saw the pattern of behavior, because now in the financial services world, of course, for some of you who don't know, we run a radio show here, and next month will be 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah, incredible. And in that period of time, we do a lot of scam avoidance, and a guest host on the senior hour, and kind of sit in and talk about keeping people's money safe. And so always that protector, always that person that's out front, and that kind of runs through the theme. My goal when I was younger was to always be an astronaut, believe it or not.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was the thing, was to go to the moon.
Oh, all right. Well, be reaching for the
Not going to
stars
happen
still,
yet.
right?
Yeah.
Well, this is like your radio moon.
This
per
is
se, right?
This is like the top of the mountain when it
So
comes
you're
to
saying
radio.
this is it?
Yeah.
It's all downhill from here? Oh, no.
Yeah, it's a sad descent. Yeah, and
We're
then-
only on the second floor, is that right? I can't jump off from here.
Okay, so you were lifeguard. You were in law enforcement for a while.
Yeah.
What shifted? Because I know you're still protecting people per se.
Yeah.
But what shifted from you wanting law enforcement to the financial world?
Well, it's actually, it was pretty funny when I would tell friends that I was going to be a police officer. They're like, "What, you? I can't imagine." Because in their mind, whatever that personality looked like or that attitude, I didn't have it according to them. But at 18, I started, let me back up a little bit. From the 8th grade, we started bringing in people, if you will, from the Middle East, we being my dad and mom. Lebanon had a civil war going on, so from 76 on, I was about 11 years old, or 8 or 9 years old, we were bringing people and families over, and they would stay with us for a little while. My mom would get them registered in school, my dad would get them jobs, they'd get an apartment, and they would continue. Different than today, you come over to try to sit on the system for a lot of people. Back then, no, they had a job, they had to get one quickly, and start making a life for themselves. I think my parents always had that sense of pride in doing something, as opposed to just sitting there and receiving it. If you're healthy, if you can get up off your fanny, you should go to work. So my first job, gosh, I was the old Roxford golf course. Some of you might remember that, right off of the 405 and 5 where it comes together. Now there's Denny's and ITT Tech right in that area. So it was, Denny's was always there. It was just past Denny's towards the south there. So there was a 9-hole golf course. So I would work there and wash the balls, sweep the tennis courts, make $1 or $2 or $3 and spend it right back in candy bars and Coke.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a good deal for them, that's for sure. And then I would caddy a little bit, so I would caddy and take people's clubs and kind of tell them a little bit about the course because I played it a lot. And the lessons that I received there said, if you promise to play golf the rest of your life, then I'll teach you how to play. And that's what the pro did. And he goes, I'll teach you to play for free. So he took me and my sister, and we would hit the balls on the range, and he would give us lessons regularly all through summer. And that was kind of the beginning of work for me. What was important through all of that, though, was I understood that working meant receiving. And I think that's why today, when I see a different world where existing means receiving, those are night and day. You know, I think people don't mean to harm their children, but they do when they pay them an allowance. You know, we were never paid an allowance, probably because we couldn't afford it. But it taught me that if I wanted something, I had to go get it. And then at 8th grade, because I was growing up, brought people in, I got to move to the garage. So my home was the garage from the 8th grade till I was 23. And then there it is. At 23, I became a police officer. But at 18 years old, I started saving and investing. I sat in my economics class in college. I was a freshman, and it said, you could save and invest. You could put money in. I go, whoa. I'm raising my hand going, that doesn't make sense. If that's true, why didn't somebody tell my parents? Because I can tell you, my parents would have told me. So I remember going home and talking to my dad. He said, no, that's not true. So I'd go back to class. Say, oh, yeah, anybody can save and invest. This is what the market's about, and you can do it. And I thought, what is that all about? How do you do that? So sure enough, I got referred to somebody and started looking and started saving. So at 18, I started saving. At 21, I became a police officer. At 23, I got married, and about a month and a half before I was married, bought a house with my soon-to-be wife, and we purposely didn't move into it. I know this is counter to the whole, my gosh, but we did so because I knew we were going to have a story someday, and the story was going to, both of us knew that. She was 21, I was 23. We knew that our story someday was going to be, we bought a house and we moved in early because, no. We bought a house, we owned it in separate names, you know, not a married couple, and we didn't move into it. We didn't sleep in that house until we were married.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I would move furniture up on a day off or something and move boxes of stuff as we were getting closer to getting married, because the way we closed escrow happened to be a little early.
Okay.
And at 23, I bought my first house. I thought everybody bought a house at 23.
Yeah, that's not the case.
Yeah, no, not at all, right? And it's funny because I started looking in Santa Clarita, and I couldn't afford a house there, so I went to Castaic, couldn't afford a house there. I went to Canyon Country, kind of really it would be an apartment or a condo. Went out to the Antelope Valley, put bids on a few houses, just kind of all fell through, and then said, let's try Fraser Park. That wasn't the kind of neighborhood we wanted to live in, so we kept going to Pine Mountain Club. So 19 miles from the freeway was our home. So in order to get to the freeway in wintertime was tough sometimes. But that was our house for 7 years.
Wow. Fantastic.
Pretty incredible.
That is a trek.
Yeah, that's,
from the
no,
Pine
yeah,
Mountain
no
Club.
Imagine that. I had to sell, of course, our two-wheel drive little
Yeah.
Toyota whatever to buy the four-wheel drive Toyota whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. So you were saving money, and I've heard this story before, but maybe some of the listeners haven't. And what we're going to do, we're going to take actually, no, we'll
Well, I'll tell you, this is kind of interesting. Then when we come back, I'll tell you what the issue was, and this is it. At 25, I had $150,000 saved.
And that's what I wanted to get into.
Yeah, life was good.
Yeah.
And at 26, we got scammed and lost most of our money. And 3 different scams over the course of about 6 or 8 months. And here I was a police officer. I had a gun on my hip. Right? These guys knew it. These guys were, quote, my friends. And I was pretty smart, right? I didn't put quotes around that. Smart. I should have known better. And yet I could get taken. How much more so were other people? And that's what really fired me up down that road. So although I'd been saving prior to getting into law enforcement, it was afterwards that I really saw that there was a problem. And going through the riots and the earthquake and as an officer and seeing human nature and all of that, it really kind of shocked me as to what I thought was right and wrong. I'm a real justice person. I don't like dishonesty. I don't like people that are wrong, that are hurting people. That's not cool to me.
Okay, and we're going to get into that, and maybe some of the nonprofits that you're involved in.
Yeah.
I know you're involved in a lot.
Yeah, we do
in the
some great
Santa Clarita.
things.
So we'll talk about that too. Arif Halaby, he's our Mercedes-Benz Unsung Hero, Santa Clarita at Mercedes-Benz Unsung Hero. More with him after. AM 1220 KHTS, hometownstation.com for all the latest and greatest in the Santa Clarita Valley. And we're talking with Arif Halaby. He is the Santa Clarita's Unsung Hero, brought to you by Mercedes-Benz of Valencia. And we were talking a little bit about your background a little bit, and you just moved into a house. You are now. You said you saved up $150, and you said you actually got
150,000. Basically, with all of our savings,
not $150.
A few zeros after that.
The idea of saving up money and doing what we thought we were supposed to do and all of that process, and then to go, I don't know what, maybe 30 years old or 27 years old and realize you lost most of what you had, and I had to try to figure out why. And so that's what really sparked my interest down the financial services world as a profession. And it was really just kind of having a friend of mine say, maybe they did some things wrong here. Maybe you just didn't understand this. So explain some things. I'm like, well, of course I can understand that, because it was made really simple for me. When that took place, a light bulb went on, really. And I said, well, why doesn't everybody know about this? Why doesn't everybody know that they don't have to do what the big brokerage firms say, or we can, but it was all before the internet. So why is it that just because the broker comes to your home or you go to his office or her office, they offer you one plan, you think that's all that's available? Well, that wasn't the case. And so started working in the financial services world maybe 3 years later, went off on our own, opened our own company, started radio shows and that kind of thing maybe within a year or two later. And financially really made a difference through one book. Well, maybe a couple books besides the Bible, which is a big part of our life, is faith. But book was called Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Okay.
Now, and what, as Jesse says, timing and opportunity meets each other. And that book I read, and in 9 months my income tripled.
Wow.
So how did that happen? Well, it just changed everything about. I was mentally at the right spot, there was opportunity at the right time, and that book came in. So it doesn't mean you just read the book and suddenly your life changes, but I read that book. Then there was 2 other books that kind of came after it. Now there's got to be maybe 24 between all the other books that he's written, but it made such a difference that we went back to Sylmar High School and started a scholarship fund for a boy and a girl. And we said, who do we want to honor? Because it's my money. I can do what I want, right? I don't have to give it to the A student or the kid who's there all the time. I don't really think those things matter. So what we did is we said from 2.0 to 3.799 GPA. That's who gets the scholarship. If you're 3.8 or above, not interested. You're going to go off and be a great employee somewhere. My goal was to give it to the person who is the entrepreneur, because A students always work for C students. Pretty funny, huh? Kind of the case. And you look at that and you go, well, why is that the case? So we built a philosophy around helping the person that wants to be that is honest, that is hardworking, but in the system of the schools, the way it was taught, and still in some cases today, can have only a certain level of success. The regurgitation, the memorization, I think the death of the old public school system is slow, but it is here. And the new learning, whether it's homeschooling, which is what we chose to do with our children, whether it's distance learning, whether it's the internet, whether it's something like the Trinity Classical Academy, there's just a whole bunch of different philosophies. Well, what we did is we just say, hey, listen, we're going to give $1,000 to a boy and $1,000 to a girl. And if you're a 3.0 GPA, 3.8 GPA, you don't get it. And that started a cycle where then we came out to Santa Clarita Christian School, and we gave away a scholarship, but it was a renewal. So every year you'd come back and you'd sign a character statement.
Oh,
so
okay.
We'd have one boy and one girl. We started with reading the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and then interviewed them. Me and my sister did, and this is a scholarship in my parents' honor, who are still alive. We just thought we'd do it because everybody talks about people when they're dead. I thought we'd do it when they're alive. That'd be fun.
No, that's fun. Yeah,
I can't smell the flowers.
It'd be nice to, you'd be recognized when you're still alive.
Yeah, I thought so, and this is part of it. So thank you. I appreciate it. You never know. And so we just decided to put this together. We being my wife and I, and sat down and said, what are the character traits that matter? Now, Santa Clarita Christian School was a small school at the time. It still is. So the grade requirement didn't really matter that much. It wasn't. Most kids were doing pretty well in that school, if not all of them. So we said, well, here's our character requirement. You had to, during the scholarship period, you can't be arrested, can't use drugs, can't drink alcohol because it's illegal.
Yeah.
Because, you're not 21. I get it. Look, I drank from the age of 14 to 17. Not a good idea, not a good thing. I get it, kids, but we all have a story, and that's part of mine. But when I became a Christian, I stopped. It wasn't my thing anymore. But that being said, you can't have a tattoo or body piercing. You can't smoke cigarettes. And you have to maintain at least a C average in college. And then there was a volunteer requirement. I think it was 15 or 25 hours. I can't remember that exact. And we had a volunteer requirement. And then every year you'd come back, you'd sign something that says, I abided by these rules, and then we'd give you another $1,000. And we do that for 4 years. Now, I can tell you there were a lot of times where they would get 1 or 2 of those, and then they'd say, well, I can't sign that up. Thank you. I don't want to know which one you violated. Oh, you can't be pregnant unless you're married, or get somebody pregnant unless you're married first.
Okay.
That was another part of it. So I didn't care which one you violated. I didn't want to know the story. All I said is, if you can sign this with integrity, wonderful, you receive it. And we had a couple that didn't after 2 or 3 years, and some that went all 4 years.
Well, it's nice that they were honest about it.
Yeah, because part of it was, I said, look, in the classroom, how many of you understand investing? What does that mean? It means I put money somewhere, and I expect it to make more and do better. Now, it doesn't always, but that's what I expect. How many of you understand the value of spending money? They're like, oh, yeah, of course, yeah, well, I'll spend money. Sign me up.
Yeah.
I said, so you all seem like nice people, but I wouldn't spend a dime on you. I love you, but I wouldn't. Why? Because I don't know you. If I'm going to spend $1,000, I'm going to spend it on my wife and kids or my parents or my sisters. So that means these requirements are what my investing is required.
Yeah.
And so since I want you to become something better, then that's part of it. So anyway, we started a scholarship fund. That's going back to like 1996, 97. We continued that for many years.
What about some of the stuff? I know you help the children. I can't remember his last name.
Michael Santatamara is the current local executive.
He's been on
director.
your show before. What other nonprofits here in the Valley are you guys?
Well, Help the
involved
Children is one of my favorites. Roger Pressgrove just passed away.
Yeah.
An amazing human being, in my opinion. Just the stuff that he did in his short life is just amazing. Help the Children has a food pantry here. It's not like the Santa Clarita Valley food pantry. It's a little different. It's a shopping one. You go through and you shop and you pick the items that work for you and your family. So you're given an empty box when you walk in the door, and your job is to fill it. And you have a couple of boxes, so that's really helpful for people. In addition to all of that, there's no federal money that's accepted at all.
Yeah, that's one of the crazy things about Help the Children is they do
zero.
it from scratch.
That's right.
Yeah,
and I love that because, reports are you're not allowed to receive anything from a federal regional food bank if you have a card that's worth more than a certain dollar figure. I think it's $2,500. So, but let's say you do. What do a lot of, I'm not saying that they do it here at Santa Clarita Valley Food Bank, but what do a lot of those people, they say, oh, just tell them you don't have one. Nobody's going to check. Really? So you're lying on a federal form?
Yeah.
My gosh. Just to get a loaf of bread here, I'll give it to you for free.
Yeah.
Just tell me I'm good looking, and that's less of a lie. You don't go to jail for that.
That's less of a lie.
I didn't say the truth. I just said less of a lie. So I love the mindset and the mentality behind that. And then years later, we were at the open house for Mission Valley Bank. Mission Valley Bank, right? And a group of guys that work for me, and we're there, and we're having fun. And there's a car parked in the distance, and a lady that's kind of hovering around it. We go out and say, hey, what's going on? She said, well, I locked my keys in the car. Meanwhile, people are leaving the event, and there's less and less people in the parking lot. It's getting dark, and there's 4 or 5 guys. We're all maybe in suits and ties or whatever we were at the time. A little less intimidating, but still 4 guys in a dark parking lot with a lady. So she was scared. I said, well, here, let me see what I can do. So I find a hanger in the back of my car. I grab a flashlight. So let me see. By the way, ma'am, I used to be a policeman. I could break into cars easy. And I'm working at it. And some of the guys are with me, and they're holding their cell phones. Man, I'm working at it. 3 minutes turns into 5, turns into 10, and I just can't get this thing done. Another guy comes and goes, hold on a second. I went to public school. Let me have that hanger. Pop. Must have been 15 seconds, only because he took his coat off. I was like, oh, man. So anyway, the lady that was there was the local representative for Boy Scouts. She came to my office a little later and gave us a little award. And I love that thing because it said, thanks for being helpful when you didn't have to be. Because a lot of people left. Certainly, in Santa Clarita, we're not going to leave somebody when we don't know about it, but we just took that initiative.
Yeah.
So that started us getting involved with scouting on many levels. A lady that worked for me said, hey, we need some camping equipment. Okay, here's a few bucks. So we gave a few bucks to her for that. And then we started 9 years ago now, Leaders of Character for Boy Scouts. We've raised
That's right.
probably close to 300,000, 250, 300, something like that.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and that was just something that a few of us started in one of our conference rooms. And it's amazing. You see, everybody can do that. You look around, understand that vision is important, understand that excitement and enthusiasm works. But there has to be some numbers. There has to be some engineers, some calculators, some mathematics, some technical to make it work, right? It's not just somebody who feels like it's going to work. So there was that effort that we put in. Got together an amazing committee, still to this day they're together, and that committee put together a real effort to let's bring awareness. Initially, it was to keep the Scout store here in Santa Clarita because they were going to move it, and the parents had to go. So for the first 2 years, my kids weren't even involved in scouting. We did all the scouting fundraisers, and my kids had nothing to do with it.
Wow.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Yeah. We couldn't afford scouting as a kid, so I never went to it, but
Yeah.
that's not something we did.
Oh, that's wild. Arif, can we keep you for one more segment?
Sure.
Is that okay? We'll keep
Yeah.
you for one more. We'll put a bow on this. You are our Mercedes-Benz unsung hero. And I want to say tfswealth.com for more information on your business, Total Financial Solutions. Safer Money Hour also is Tuesdays from noon to 2. You're taking the day off today, though.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
yeah.
This is the day off.
This is the day
This is
off,
shopping,
so-
but don't tell
Oh,
anybody.
okay. I will not tell anybody.
Yeah,
So
it's still It's still Christmas shopping.
yeah,
time,
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And more with Arif Halaby coming up. Santa Clarita's hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. We're talking with Arif Halaby. He is the Santa Clarita Unsung Hero, brought to you by Mercedes-Benz of Valencia. TFSwealth.com for more information on Total Financial Solutions. You can also listen to Total Financial Solutions Safer Money Hour. It's from noon to 2 every Tuesday on AM 1220 KHTS. And so we talked about the nonprofits that you're involved in. Anything moving forward?
Yeah.
What do we have business-wise or nonprofit-wise? What do we have going on?
Well, the directions that we're going down is, for example, Help the Children has a big event in February down at the Sportsman's Lodge. It's a great fundraiser opportunity, good opportunity for people to learn a little bit more about what Help the Children does. Going to have a lot of Hollywood talent there, a lot of folks that support Help the Children and its mission. We have an amazing dinner planned for Salt Creek. You guys are welcome.
Oh,
Anybody can come.
these are excellent, by the way. You should sign up for this.
It's a big event. We have two of them, 14 January and 16 January.
Okay.
Our next two. It's a retirement income workshop. Learn a little bit about no obligation, that kind of a thing.
Never too young to learn about retirement.
I'll tell you, one of the fun parts about what I did is because I got screwed so bad, I thought, well, can you say that?
Yeah, you just said it. So
yeah,
whatever.
because I got taken to the cleaners, and I was still wearing the clothes. That wasn't fun. Through that opportunity, I thought, we don't have enough education. So we started a group called, organization called Total Money School. So Total Money School has 14 curriculums, and we're going to be opening up classes again, I think, starting in February.
Oh, great.
And it'll be a lot of fun. Learn about money basics, getting out of debt. Should you buy or lease a car?
And these are the reason you did this is because it's not stuff that's normally taught in your econ classes, but it's obviously extremely important in your day-to-day life.
Yeah, you'd be shocked at how many people have masters, MBAs, or CPAs, and they still don't understand the basics of personal finance. They may be wonderful at reading a balance sheet or doing your taxes, but the basics of personal finance are things that are just not taught unless you purposely go out and seek this information. So Total Money School is a big part of that. We're going to be coming to you here all next year, first part of the year.
Fantastic.
Telling you all about that. But Salt Creek Grill is big. That's coming up in January 14 and 16. And then in February, I think it's 22. I'll have to look and see. But in February, if you give us a call at 298-1220 is
That's a good one.
the
Yeah.
number here.
That works.
Can always find out that. 753-9683. That's our office number, 753-9683. You can get a hold of us anytime. There's a message machine there, of course, if we're not there. One of the best things you can do, folks, is learn about financial literacy. Look, we made it, lost it, made it, if you will, in our 20s, and that changed my life, changed my kids' future. And the idea of accumulating stuff is not wealth. It's not success. It's not happiness. It's having freedom, not being in a place you don't want to be. People forget that. And I think it's nice that we can bring a little bit of that back. And thank you for this. The unsung hero thing is an amazing honor because it's I'm very good at giving. I'm very good at, I love that. I love creating and giving away. Receiving is a difficult thing for me. So.
Yeah. So, well, you deserve it. So you are our
Thanks.
Easy for me to say. I got a frog in my throat. Good thing I don't have to talk for a living. You are our Mercedes-Benz of Valencia, Santa Clarita Unsung hero this go around. Thank you, Arif. TFSwealth.com, or listen to your show every Tuesday from noon to 2, except for today.
Yeah, that's right, except for today.
Except for today. But
Or the day off.
TFS Wealth, you can see all the events that you're doing there, and just go out in the community and you'll see him giving out stuff too. So.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah,
a lot of
so-
fun. Thanks
so.
again. Appreciate you.
Arif Halaby, he's our Mercedes-Benz of Valencia Unsung hero, and thank you again.